It had been years since Clint Eastwood had walked the halls of his high school in Carmel, California. But one morning, while he was in town for a charity event, he decided to take a walk down memory lane. He stopped by the school, hoping to see some familiar faces and reminisce about his youth. As he strolled through the campus, something caught his eye. An elderly man was sweeping the hallways with a slow but steady rhythm. Clint paused and watched for a moment, noticing the man's age and the way his body moved with a certain weariness. The janitor was hunched over, carefully cleaning the floors, his hands shaking slightly with age. Clint couldn't help but feel a pang of recognition. The man's face was lined with wrinkles, but there was something about him that seemed familiar. It took a moment for Clint to place it, but then it hit him: this was Mr. Thompson, the school janitor. Clint's mind flashed back to his teenage years. Mr. Thompson had been the janitor at the school for as long as Clint could remember, always there in the background, quietly doing his job while the students came and went. Clint hadn't thought about him in years, but seeing him now, still working at the age of 80, was a shock. Where are you watching this story unfold? Let us know in the comments below. Clint approached Mr. Thompson slowly, unsure of how to break the silence. The janitor looked up at him, his eyes cloudy with age but still bright with recognition. Clint Eastwood? Mr. Thompson asked, his voice raspy but filled with a faint smile. Clint nodded, surprised that the old man remembered him after all these years. It's me, Clint said. I was just taking a walk around the old school, and I couldn't help but notice you. Mr. Thompson chuckled softly. I've been here a long time, Clint. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. Someone has to keep this place clean. Clint was taken aback. He had no idea that Mr. Thompson had been working at the school for so long. I didn't know you were still here, Clint said, his voice tinged with concern. How long have you been working here? Mr. Thompson shrugged and continued sweeping the floor. Oh, about 60 years or so, he said casually, as if it were nothing unusual. Clint's heart sank. 60 years? That's incredible, and a bit sad, don't you think? Mr. Thompson paused for a moment, looking up at Clint with a knowing look. Well, Clint, someone has to do the work, right? The job doesn't stop just because I'm getting older. Clint stood there for a few moments, watching the janitor work. The realization began to set in: this man had devoted his entire life to this school, yet he was still here, in his twilight years, doing the same hard work he had done for decades. Have you ever encountered someone who works tirelessly like this? Let us know in the comments below. As Clint continued to talk with Mr. Thompson, he couldn't shake the feeling that something needed to be done. This was a man who had given his entire life to his work, but had never been given the opportunity to enjoy his later years. He had spent his whole life cleaning the school, maintaining the facilities, yet no one had ever truly recognized his sacrifice. Clint couldn't let this continue. He knew that Mr. Thompson deserved more than this. He deserved a retirement, a life of comfort, and time to enjoy his hard-earned years. Mr. Thompson, Clint began, his voice filled with sincerity, I think it's time for you to retire. You've given enough. You've worked harder than most people I know, and it's time for you to enjoy life a little. Mr. Thompson looked at Clint, his expression unreadable. I don't need to retire, he said quietly. I'm doing fine. I have my job, and it keeps me busy. Clint shook his head. No, you're not doing fine. You're still here because you feel like you have to be. You've worked your whole life. You've earned the right to rest. Mr. Thompson seemed to hesitate for a moment, looking down at his broom as if deep in thought. How do you think Mr. Thompson will react to Clint's offer? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Clint wasn't going to let this conversation end on a down note. He had made up his mind that Mr. Thompson needed more than just words, he needed action. I've seen what you've done for this school, Mr. Thompson," Clint said, his voice firm. "You've put in your time, and it's been more than enough. Let me do something for you in return. I want to make sure you're taken care of." Mr. Thompson looked at Clint with a mix of confusion and disbelief. "You don't have to do anything for me, Clint. I've got everything I need." But Clint wasn't giving up. "No, Mr. Thompson," he said, his voice unwavering. "I'm offering to take care of your future. I want to make sure you can retire with peace of mind. I'll cover your living expenses for as long as you need. You don't have to work another day in your life." Mr. Thompson stared at Clint, stunned by his words. He had never imagined someone like Clint Eastwood, an actor, a legend, would go out of his way to help a man like him. "But Clint, you don't even know me that well," Mr. Thompson said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Why would you do this for me?" Clint smiled warmly. "Because you deserve it. You've given your life to this school, and now it's time for you to enjoy it. Consider it a gift, something for all your hard work." What do you think of Clint's gesture? Would you have done the same? Let us know in the comments below. The next day, Clint arranged a meeting with the school board and the local community leaders. He made it clear that Mr. Thompson deserved recognition for his decades of service to the school. He personally made arrangements for Mr. Thompson to receive a generous retirement package, complete with healthcare and enough funds to live comfortably for the rest of his life. Mr. Thompson was overwhelmed by Clint's generosity, and for the first time in years, he felt a sense of relief. He no longer had to worry about working just to survive. That afternoon, Clint visited Mr. Thompson at his modest home and handed him a check to cover his retirement expenses. "This is for you," Clint said, shaking Mr. Thompson's hand. "Enjoy it, and take the time to do the things you love." Mr. Thompson was speechless, tears welling up in his eyes as he looked at Clint. I don't know what to say," he said quietly. "Thank you doesn't seem enough." Clint smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've already said it with your hard work. Now, it's my turn to help you enjoy life." From that day forward, Mr. Thompson retired and spent his remaining years enjoying the simple pleasures of life, from fishing to spending time with family. Clint had changed his life forever, and the small gesture had made all the difference. If you're inspired by this heartwarming story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to keep up with more incredible stories like this one. Let me know if you need more stories.